It's a 2020 Geeky Year in Review. Up next on Geek Out SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Friday and we're having fun. We're finally back.
Yay, us!
We're back for the 2020 Geeky Year in Review.
Yeah, I wanted to call it the highs and lows of geekiness in 2020, but Vince was like, I don't know, that title's really long, so.
Yeah, make it a little shorter.
Let's shorten it a little bit. Sometimes I have good ideas for shows, but maybe not the best title ideas for shows. That's usually Vince's department. I'll tell him something and he's like, yeah, we're not going to call it that.
We're not going to call it that.
We're not going to call it that.
I can't do that.
So what would you like to review first?
I think I'm going to go right out on it since it's just happened and we just saw it. We saw Wonder Woman 84.
So we did. And that got some highs and lows, right? I waited a really long time to see it.
Yeah, we did wait a very, very, very long time
and
to see that.
And we were really excited because they released it in the theater and on HBO Max, and we wanted to go see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Well, because here in San Antonio, we're in San Antonio, Texas, so here in San Antonio, the COVID cases have been pretty high, so they put businesses back down to 50% occupancy.
Right.
So they cut the theater seating down even more. So when we went to go look for seats, they were sold out for 3 days straight unless you wanted to sit in front of the screen, which we hate. So since it was on HBO Max for no additional fee.
Right.
Which we're cool with, right? Because we had a problem with Mulan and having an additional
But we'll get to that.
Well, we'll get to that. So we were like, okay, well, I guess we'll just watch it here at the house. So it was.
So let me say this. It was an okay movie. I didn't hate the movie. It was a sequel. I mean, usually the sequel isn't that great. Like when you look at Die Hard, the second one was the.
I think that everybody.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
Excited like for it because the first one was so good, and there was so much they could have done with her.
I think they hyped it up a lot.
They hyped it up a lot. And then the fight scenes ended up being a lot weaker than you would hope for.
Yeah.
Although, let me give Kristen Wiig some props, because I thought there's no way she can be a good antagonist. She's too comedy. She's just going to mess it up. She's just going to be goofy like she was, like in Ghostbusters or whatever. She's not going to be able to carry that.
I thought she did really well.
She did really well.
Yeah.
I thought she did really well. Is it her fault that the makeup that they did for her at the end looked like she was a character from Cats the Musical? That's not her fault, right? A lot of people are complaining about that, but as the actress, she's the makeup style, and she acted the part really well. She acted the transition. She was the kind, goofy, scientist lady, and then she had the power and the strength and the sex appeal. She acted it all very, very well. So for that part of the movie, A+.
Yeah.
For me as a girl, I grew up with all of these like Disney love stories, and I was like really into that. And now as people talk about it more, and they're like, well, why are these women like falling in love with these men that they've just met? Why did Wonder Woman fall in love with him and she just like can't get over him 40 years later? She barely knew the guy. And then her wish is for him to be back, and he comes back in some other dude's body. And like, what happens to that other dude? Like there was some plot holes, right? That you were kind of like,
I'd like to see the director's cut. If there is ever one.
I don't know. And then I think people were really excited because the dude who's the Mandalorian was the bad guy. But he was like...
He was kind of flat.
Flat, yeah. Sorry. He could have done so much more with that character.
And there was so much more that happened in the comics when it came to that character and Wonder Woman that they didn't even touch on some of the stuff.
Yeah, and I felt like he could have done so much more with that, and he was kind of flat. So
Yeah.
that I was disappointed in, because he does so well as the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has swagger and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and I know he's a different character as Max Lord in
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman, but there was so much he could have done being like slimy and sleazy and kind of like Ponzi scheme-ish kind of guy, because that's who he is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then kind of a megalomaniac as well. He was flat. I
Yeah.
thought it was flat, and so you were kind of like, who cares? Like, he's doing all this terrible stuff. Who cares? It was like,
It was kind of the way when I saw Batman versus Superman.
mm-hmm.
Um, it had that feeling for me. Wonder Woman
Like it's
did.
okay,
Like
right?
it's okay,
But
but
like, who cares?
it's not
Like I was so hyped to
great.
see it, and then when I saw it, I was like, oh,
But when I saw the director's cut,
way better.
way better.
Which
So
which
if
makes
they
me
have
wonder, because now we're going back to like the director's cut of the Batman versus Superman. We're gonna get the director's cut of the Star Wars movie. If those are better, if they explain the story better, if that's the director's vision,
so let's release that.
why don't we just release those? Yeah.
Yeah.
How about we just release those? Didn't they used to have like test audiences in Hollywood?
Maybe they're testing it out and saying, "Oh, we'll give you this bad version." So now they're going to be sending out two versions to make more money.
Or maybe because it's just a DC Warner Brothers thing, they just can't get their act together.
Maybe. I just thought they did a really good job with the first
Yeah,
one.
the first one was pretty good.
And so I was kind of disappointed. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like
Right.
I hated it. I think I just had worked myself up to it so much, because there's a lot of holes.
Because the first one was so good.
There's a lot of holes in the Marvel stuff too.
Yeah.
And I get kind of hype about that sometimes too, and then I watch it and I'm like, oh, that was okay, I guess. So I think maybe I just need to stop getting so hyper about these movies and so excited about them, and then I'll be fine. And just don't care about them. Just be like, meh. You know, I'm like, Black Widow's coming out. We've been waiting 6 years. It's fine. Whatever. I don't care. You know?
Not quite 6 years.
Not quite 6 years, but
Getting
it kind
there.
of
It's getting there,
it
yeah.
kind of feels that way.
Because I still haven't heard it when they're releasing that,
Yeah, no.
and it's been done.
Oh yeah, it's done. Yeah, it's done. They're trying to release it so that they can make back the money that they spent on it. But how long can they sit on it just being there, not making any money off of it? I don't know.
Well, I think they're actually lucky because it's kind of a backwards film in the Marvel series. It doesn't like tie in. Hopefully, it doesn't tie into anything current, so they can do that.
Yeah.
But everything else that's after that is all stacking up. They're going, we have to release these things in sequence. If we don't, it's not going to make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So at some point they're gonna have to just start releasing stuff and deciding how they're gonna do that. Oh my god, I'm so yawny today. I'm so sorry. And I didn't even stay up that
So
late last night.
welcome Black and Silver Diamond. He says hi, happy. It's MMXX1I, actually. So 2021.
2021. 2021. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't all magically turn into princes and princesses at the stroke of midnight like everybody thought was going to happen.
I was a very pretty princess.
You were a pretty princess at midnight.
Yeah. Just for a little bit.
Just for a tiny, tiny bit.
Yeah.
I fell asleep.
Yep.
And you woke me up like 5 minutes before.
I had to wake him up so that he could.
So we can
in
celebrate.
The new year.
Yeah.
See what happens when you're old. You just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, every year we would pop fireworks.
Oh, yeah. We used to do a ton of fireworks, and
Yeah.
that would be...
But not in the city limits. We would never do that.
San Antonio. You're so funny. San Antonio. What's
last
the videos online? You'll get it.
Yeah, last night it was like...
There was none at the Tower of Americas, but there was some everywhere else.
Mm-hmm. It was the most
almost
I've ever
just
seen.
as big.
Yeah. So Wonder Woman was a hit/miss, I would say.
So we talked about Pedro Pascal on there. He's also in The Mandalorian. So this year, great thing, was Mandalorian season 2.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. I mean,
It was
I thought
yes
you and
for me.
I thought you and Stuart were gonna like stand up and have a standing ovation when we watched that final episode, and there comes Luke, and y'all were like, oh, heck yeah, oh yeah, oh. I mean, I wish I had done a reaction video of the two of y'all because y'all were losing your minds, losing your minds. As soon as you saw his ship, you knew who it was. You were like, is that who we think? That better be who we think it is. I swear to God, that better be who we think it is. Look at that ship. Look at that cloak. Look at the hands. Y'all are like, every little thing. Look at the color of the lightsaber. You're like freaking out, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the best. I wish I had taken a video of y'all because that would have been like blown up the internet because y'all were losing your minds. It was so good. So I thought it was a good tie together. I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen?
Have you heard dog crying? It's our dog, just outside our door.
We got a new doggy for Christmas, and he doesn't know what we're doing in here, and he's confused as to why we won't let him in. So there is some guy who has a big YouTube channel, like Star Wars Theory is the name of his YouTube channel or something. And apparently he did a reaction video of himself watching Mandalorian. Yeah. And he cried. And so
I made you yawn too.
It made me yawn. Sorry, we've been like putting up a new fence for the dog and doing all kinds of stuff, and we're exhausted. So apparently a Star Wars exec gets on Twitter and kind of bashes this guy and says like, you know, our emotions are not supposed to be shared with the public or whatever. And so now everybody's in this big uproar and everything about, oh, an exec shouldn't be putting down a fan for crying over something that they've been waiting all this time for, and I'm like, okay, but you guys keep bashing these execs and saying you've ruined this thing that I own, that I love, that's only special to me, and you keep bashing these guys and bashing these guys and bashing these guys, so they're finally gonna bite back eventually. Like, there's only so much holding of your tongue I think you can do as a human being, and so I feel like, yeah, that episode of The Mandalorian was great and it tied some things together, and now we're gonna have a million memes of like, you know, Ben Solo and poor Grogu and like all the death memes and everything.
Yeah, and the child gets a name. So that's cool. That's another great thing that happened this year.
But that name was not great.
It's not great, but
he
has a name.
He has a name.
Kyle says, "Hi, I haven't been here in a while. Well, thanks for coming to our year in review. Appreciate it, and welcoming in the new year."
I will say that it's a really great series. And it's really great because it's brought some other people into Star Wars that hadn't been paying attention to Star Wars, because it has that very Western feel that the original trilogy of movies, the 4, 5, and 6, had. It has that Wild West, Western, space Western type. Even the way the Mandalorian walks, if you watch him, he has that kind of like, you know, I'm going to a showdown to a shootout everywhere I go or whatever, you know, he has that swagger. And then to have that, it's brought some new fans, I think, to Star Wars as well. And then, of course, everybody's losing their minds about Boba, you know. And that was pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of, like, into Boba. I cannot wait. It's funny that such a small character, like, really caught all of our attention and became... Because, again, he had that swagger, right? And he didn't even have to talk. You know, he was just like...
Standing there looking cool.
Yeah, he was just standing there looking cool in the armor. He didn't have to talk. You knew he was no nonsense. You knew he would just shoot you in the face. You know, it was like... So, it'll be cool to see where they go with him. Yeah. And then for you really like Ahsoka Tano. So we got a lot of characters this year.
So the one thing about Ahsoka Tano, we got to see her. So I can't find anywhere... like Ahsoka toys anywhere, like decent ones. This is the only tiny one that I found this year.
And we like to find things like when we're in stores. I'm sure you can find stuff on Amazon, but yeah.
So
That's
But
the
yeah, that
first
was
one.
cool. I think Rosario Dawson did an excellent
Did a
job.
great job. I feel like she must have watched the Clone Wars, and she has some of
Because
those. Or they
because
work
you
with
were
her a
telling
lot.
me, and I saw it too. Like after you mentioned it, we watched it. We've watched it way more
Like
than
4 times.
once. Yeah.
We've watched
Um,
that.
but we saw it, and you could see that she stands just like her.
Uh-huh.
And I was
Because
just
I
like,
think sometimes
wow.
that's part of a character that people don't realize is
Yeah.
that body language, right?
Mhm.
That's what makes that's what makes the Mandalorian who he is his body language. That's what makes Ahsoka who she is her body language, and the way that she moves. That's what makes Gal Gadot a most beautiful Wonder Woman is because she's very statuesque because of the fluidity of her movement. You very much believe that she was bred her whole life to be this hero, right? So body language is important to these actors, and so to see them having paid attention to what the animators gave us that we were used to in that character,
Right.
and then take it to a live action was really great. Because I think that going from animation to live action, there can be a lot of big misses in
Yeah.
that.
Black and Silver Diamond says, "I'm starting my own collection of what?
Yeah, of what?
Of
Just
what?
general
Yeah.
Star Wars or Mandalorian? Of what? What are you starting? I'd like to know because we have a lot. We have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Did
Talking
you
about
wanna
just some of the stuff I got
show
for
some
like
of the stuff that you got?
yeah. So I got this as like a utensil holder.
Yeah.
I got that for my sister. It's
It's Vader.
Darth Vader.
Mhm.
You can put your spoon like when you're cooking.
Well, we use it in here. We're gonna put. Like,
I didn't bring it in, but my sister also got me some lightsaber chopsticks.
Yeah.
That was really cool, and they light up with LEDs, so that's really neat. Colleen got me. I've been wanting these 3011 Star Wars cards for a long time, and I was like, "Oh, should I get them myself?" And I was like, no. Somebody
Glad you
will get them
waited.
for me, and nobody has gotten them for me for like a couple of years because they've been out for a while. And then finally, somebody got them for me. I was like, golly,
I finally
thank
saw
you.
them. I hadn't seen them before,
Yeah.
so I didn't know. I think the Jar Jar thing is cool.
Oh, Jar Jar.
I know people
so
don't like Jar Jar.
my youngest son goes to a lot of estate sales, and he found me the original Jar Jar Binks from Pizza Hut, and it's still in the bag. And I got the cup and even the straw for it.
And it's still bagged.
It's still all bagged and sealed and everything. So that was kind of a cool find. One of my other sons got me a deck of Metal Gear Solid playing cards. So
Can you guess what Vince likes aside from Star Wars? He likes playing cards. He used to do sleight of hand magic, actually.
Yeah.
You haven't practiced it in a long time, so I don't know how good your sleight of hand. It's one of those things you have to practice, because you've got to get the hand movements right.
Yeah, and then you get big into the cards. These cards feel so soft and they're so smooth in the hands. And I must get another one. And
yeah, and that's how it all started. And it was like, oh, these do this trick really well, and these move this way really well. You should show the tiki. The tiki was really cool too.
Yeah.
Vincent, can you grab the tiki and show everybody the tiki?
Oh,
as
the
well?
tiki. Oh, yes. That one's really cool because I'm also an avid collector of Superman.
And he's a tiki. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a tiki. Yeah, check that out.
you can get other ones in the second hologram.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Because they have Batman and the Joker and Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn.
Yep. All the regular DC ones that everybody knows and collects mostly. So.
Stackable vinyl tiki figures.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you killed it.
Now that one's worth a little bit less. Oh, your Jar Jar cup on eBay is worth $4. Totally collector's item.
Well, we collect. We think it's a collector's item. Well, we have the art
It's
too.
just because Stuart hates Jar Jar.
No, I think Jar Jar is awesome because he is going to be like the next big evil Star Wars character.
Nice.
He's going to be like a big evil dude. If the child isn't the big evil dude. That'd be awesome.
I mean, he is kind of like Anakin.
He
So
does-
our dog
does
that you
like-
can hear
he
crying.
He does like committing genocide by eating people.
Yep. Our dog that you can hear crying, his name is Anakin because he cries a lot and he has separation anxiety. So we named him Anakin.
Is that why you? No, he wasn't that cryish when you named him. Is that why you named him the Anakin?
Because he cries a lot and has separation.
Because I usually name the animals in the
Uh-huh.
house. This is the first time I was like, go for it, name them.
Yep.
I want to see what you come up with. And I was like, that kind of suits him.
It does suit him.
That was a good name.
Some other highs and lows that we don't talk about as much because we don't really do it as much anymore now that we don't do the convention anymore is playing tabletop games.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have a regular gaming group. Some of the people that we liked to game with have like moved away or live in different cities and things like that. So it's been harder, and it's definitely been harder for people to game with COVID.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to get together and not supposed to be in each other's houses, so that's been a low. But one of the highs has been all of the ways that people have thought about coming together, getting together. Steam did like an electronic version of several board games so that you could play together remotely and play them through Steam. People have had Zoom parties where if everybody owns the copy, which is a fun way to do it, everybody sets up the game at their house and then everybody plays, all the pieces and stuff. So that's a fun way.
I just don't imagine as when you're doing it, how do you do it with cards?
Yeah, I don't. That way you would have to get like the Steam I think that
Unless
some of them
unless
have
they
the
have
Steam
the cards
version.
loaded on the actual interface, maybe.
Well, that's what the Steam version does. So it's loaded on each person's interface, and then
no, I'm talking about when you have like a board game and you're kind of like Zoom
thing.
Yeah.
That I guess one player is like the head person, and so whatever they draw, they would have to show the person on Zoom and say, "Okay, this is your."
Because I would imagine that person can't play.
Right, because then they would
know
everybody
everything.
has. Yeah. So I haven't. I've seen people doing it, but I'm not sure how they did it. So I was just because we haven't tried to do it. So I would be curious. But I think that it gives to human ingenuity. Is that we're coming up with these
How
ways
rare are the Pizza Hut, KFC, Taco Bell, Star Wars toys? I don't know.
I don't know how rare they are.
Because I think, didn't you look one up and this was like $4? Yeah.
But it may just be because people don't like that character. We have the R2D2 one as well, but he's not bagged. He's been used. So I know we hear you, baby. So yeah, I think it's been interesting and just getting people to think of different ways to like spend time together and hang out together. Especially because a lot of like the game stores and stuff have had to limit. So there used to be like Tuesday night board game nights, where people could go out and meet new people and stuff like that. And so that's all been canceled and
yeah, because everything's been cut by like half.
Yeah. Well, and
If
even
that.
then, they weren't opening those sections of the gaming
For a
stores.
while, they weren't even doing that.
Just to make sure that everybody stayed safe. So that's been a miss, a low. But I think the high has been people just coming up with ways to spend time together and do things together and stuff. So still getting their geeky fix, just doing it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the Comixology app. Rather than going to the store and buying the comics, I'm just like reading them on my phone. So just trying that out. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm a paper book, paper comic book, paper book kind of person. I just prefer that media. And I have a hard time trying to scroll it up and read the dialogue and stuff on some of the comics on my phone. So I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that, but it's an option. Right, and it's a good option. They have all the titles on there, depending on like what level you want to pay for and stuff like that. So it's there's a lot that, and I think a lot of us found out about things that we didn't even realize were available.
Yeah.
That now we can have as an option if we want it, right? So, which I think is a good thing with like HBO Max and Disney Plus and everything having these movies readily available, because Disney let us see Soul. Without having to pay. So I guess Mulan didn't work out for them because for Soul.
So Mulan was a real low for us at first because I know before you were saying, okay, I'm gonna pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pay for it on there. I was like, no, we're not. And and but you were thinking you were gonna get to see it in the theater.
Yeah, I felt like if they would have
Yeah.
released it both ways, I would have paid because then I would have had the option, right?
Right.
But once they took the option away from me, that as a consumer really upset me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't take the option away from me. If I want to go to the theater, if I feel like the theater's safe enough, if I feel safe enough, if you know, uh, if I should get to choose,
Right.
right? Um, so for you to just say no, we're just gonna put it on this platform, and then you have to pay this huge price, I was like, I don't mind if other people who want to stay home with their family of 4 or 5 pay the price because I think it's worth it. It's about the price
Yeah.
of a movie ticket. That's fine. It's worth it. But if you don't give me the option, I'm not gonna pay, and we didn't,
Right.
and we didn't pay.
We
Once,
didn't pay. Yeah, we waited to came out free,
yeah,
and then even then we waited like a week before we saw it.
yeah. And I was pouting and being a petulant child, and so
She didn't like it.
I
She just kept wanting not to like it.
I wanted not to like it, and so I didn't. So I really want to go back and watch it again when I'm not
Yeah.
having a fit because I think I would like it as it is. I think that's one of my, if y'all are doing like New Year's resolutions, it's one of the things that I always try to work on is giving these forms of entertainment a chance
Mm-hmm.
to be what they are. And for me to just like them for what they are rather than for what I expected them to be or hoped them to be or whatever.
Because that was a good movie.
Yeah.
It was a really good movie. They did a really good job.
They didn't have songs.
It didn't have the songs.
The characters were different
Yeah.
slightly, and yeah, it had a different take. It was a different take, and that's what I should have looked at it as.
Yeah.
So,
Black and Silver Diamond says I still go to stores. We used to go to stores too. We just mask up.
Yep, we wear our masks, and we don't go as much as we used to.
Yeah.
But we still go. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we still go to restaurants, and we still go on vacations. We just go like more camping and stuff now than
Yeah.
we would before. But one of the things that having to mask up and having to reduce the number of people that are in a space has really impacted has been conventions, which is something that we're all of us in this room are like very used to going
Mm-hmm.
to is convention. Especially Stuart, that was kind of like where he lived for several years
Yeah.
was on the convention circuit. So I don't know if it's a high or a low because I feel like to some extent I'm hoping this is gonna kill some of the flooding of the convention market that's happened.
I think we've been saying this for a long time. There's too many conventions.
Yeah,
Um,
it's too much.
it's too much. Yeah.
And it's
Because
not
even
worth it.
when you're doing different types of conventions, well, if you're cutting into another convention time, then that's taking away people from you if you're trying to run it. And that was what we ran into when we were doing Game Expo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't even want to go on that tangent with that one.
I'm just hoping that we could get. I mean, I've never been to Dragon Con, but I hear Dragon Con is really great. And I know that a lot of these bigger name cons have done a virtual, and some people have enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because for them, it's a way for them to go and meet up with their friends and stuff who have the same interests that they have and the same fandoms and things like that they have. So
Black and Silver Diamond says the mall conventions need to die in San Antonio. I think there's. I think some people go. People go and people enjoy it. Is it the full convention experience that you get when you go to a fully fledged convention? No, it's not. Um, but we've found some vendors there that we like to go to,
that I like that I've
some
bought some
artists
things from, yeah, and some
and
artists.
artists that we buy things from.
I I do think I do appreciate that she's doing a better job of trying to have things there instead of it just being basically a flea market.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't like it being a convention when it was really like, these are a bunch of vendors with Harry Potter themed things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then it's not a convention, it's just a flea market, it's a Harry Potter flea market. Okay, so why don't you call it that? But now that she's gotten the dancers out there that dress up in the different costumes for whatever the occasion is, and she's having somebody
Costume contests and
costume contests and she has authors out
like
there and
panels here and there.
cosplayers and panels and stuff. So there's more activities, I guess you would say. And she's had
But here's the thing:
for the
is
kids and
it's
stuff.
free, so you can't really expect what you get at at an actual.
Right, because everybody that's
Fully-fledged
doing those kinds of side things like all the cosplayers and stuff are doing it on a volunteer basis.
Right.
Which is nice because there are a lot of people in San Antonio who can't really afford to go to an actual convention. It's not like they can go to San Diego Comic-Con, they can't afford that, you know.
Yeah. Black and Silver Diamond says the problem is not the cons, the problem is the mall itself.
Oh, that's alright. There's only going to be about 300 malls left in the United States after next year, so it doesn't really matter. We won't have any malls.
Yeah, I'm surprised they've lasted this long, to be honest.
Yeah. Especially with most of your anchor stores now have all gone bankrupt, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still like going to a store and actually getting to see the product.
Especially for me, especially clothing. I still have a hard time buying clothing. So one of the things that I bought Vincent for Christmas was the Jedi robe that I showed. If you guys watched the Christmas episode that we did, like, I put the Jedi robe as one of the Christmas presents that I said that I wanted because I wanted to see how Vincent was going to react because I had ordered it for him for Christmas. And he reacted favorably, so I was like, but I bought it not knowing, like, it tells you what the material's made of, but you don't know if it's scratchy, you know, if it's short, you know, you just don't know exactly what it's, and this turned out to be great. Like, it's very soft, it's very warm, it's exactly what I was wanting and hoping for, so I was like, but a couple of times I've ordered, like, clothing type stuff off of Amazon, and you get it, and you're like, ew, yeah, I don't like that.
Like, I ordered 2 Barbies for you, and they weren't Barbies.
Yeah, but you didn't buy them from a reputable source. You found them on a eBay thing.
Facebook link.
A Facebook link that just popped up from a company that was active 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
But I got my money back, so.
Good, as long as you got your money back. That's all I care about. And I got the coolest present ever. So, I mean, actually, aside from the Hello Kitty Transformer, which is pretty cool, it's Hello Kitty that turns into Optimus Prime. But I really, 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 really love the carousel horse. That's the fairies on the dragons, and yeah. But that's by my bed because I really like it a lot.
So I did a double mashup for you this year.
I love mashups. Like, so if you don't know me, I love things that are mashed together that don't necessarily belong. But I mean, fairies and dragons and carousels, yeah, those all belong together, obviously. So they were really great. Hello Kitty and Optimus, I'm not sure they belong together, but they're really cute together. Not gonna lie, pretty awesome. So that I think was kind of a high too. Is like trolling Amazon and finding all of these neat new things, but which is kind of a bad thing because there started to be more and more memes of all of these people. Like, you know, if Amazon shows up with a llama tomorrow, I just won't be surprised because people went kind of Amazon crazy.
Yeah.
Because what else was there to do, right? You were shopping, you were bored, you couldn't go to the mall really. The mall's about to die anyway, but you know. You weren't supposed to leave your house, and so everybody's online shopping.
Talking about online shopping, I was going out there shopping, and then we actually saw like a llama card game. Out there. And I was like, what? Because we were talking about it like a couple of years ago, wasn't it? About doing a llama game.
Yeah.
You missed the llama boat.
You missed the llama boat. It's about to sail.
Yeah.
It's at the tail end.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm so done with the llamas.
You're so done with the llamas. Can Daniel even see his bed anymore? It's just.
Well, he's got 2 beds now.
Llamas.
Yeah.
Covered with a sheet.
At his mom's place, his bed's just as bad as my place, and I think he has like 60 or 70 stuff. Llamas and alpacas at my place, and then his mom's, I think he's got like 20 or something. It didn't help that for Christmas he got more llamas.
Did he really?
Yeah.
How funny. He's so cute though because he makes up little stories for them and they have their own little lives and do their own little things. And
Yeah.
stuff.
And I punch them in the face. So.
Yeah, and Dad punches him in the face because llamas. It's nice to see. Well, and so that for me has been a high of 2020. Everybody's had to like quarantine and stuff like that, and so I've seen a lot more of kids playing and using their imagination, and there's been a lot of screen time. But for me, especially as a somebody who's a role player at heart, I love like imagination and making up stories and things
Right.
like that. And so it's been nice to see kids like making up stories and playing with toys some more and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My students and I made this goofy film together right before the pandemic, actually, and so they've been like at home writing stories and like coming up with more movies that we can make together when we come together, because I just have like random toys in my classroom. And like they made a Forky, and so we have like a Forky in my classroom, and we have George from Peppa Pig.
You
And
have to have a Peppa Pig.
yeah, well, it's George, so I thought it was Peppa Pig, but it's really George. And so then I was saying it was Peppa, and they were like, "No, it's George." And then I was like, "Okay, well, what if George had amnesia and he thinks he's Peppa?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's go with that." And then I had some Play-Doh, and they're like, "George needs to play in the mud, and then he'll get his memory back. But it's magical mud that came from the dinosaur dragon thing." And I'm like, "All right, let's do that." And we're like, and that I feel like that's what kids need to do, that kind of stuff. So, and that's one of the wonderful things about being a geek that I don't think that people realize, that we used to get such a hard time for being like weirdos and stuff, but we have imagination. Like these fantastic worlds that we love, that we live in, that our people create, these sci-fi things, these horror places, all of this stuff is because we played as children and we made up stories and all these things happened, and our G.I. Joe guys played with our Transformers and played with our Star Wars guys, and they had like battles, everywhere, and you were like, this neighbor had stuff and that neighbor, and
Black and Silver Diamonds said, asks, why is Peppa Pig so massive?
I don't know. Memes, yeah, I think.
It's like, why is Arnold so massive? Because of the stupid fist thing.
Yeah, anything that gets turned into a meme, kids are like all about it. I mean, Big Chungus is still a thing. Like, they just love Big Chungus. Elmo is huge right now. Elmo is super huge right now. Poor little baby. So yeah, I think anything that's a meme, little kids like.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the memes are the thing, because I didn't grow up in this generation.
I think another big thing, quick before we're done, is because I got super addicted to TikTok for the longest time.
It's the worst platform ever.
I love it.
Stupid. I hate it. Should be banned.
You hate it because you have a teenager at your house.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It was a high for me. It's a low for Stuart.
Yeah.
It's a low for parents of teenagers, I think. Yes. I think it definitely, I would agree with that as an educator.
Yeah.
I think that it's a low. As an adult, it's been great. It's been comic relief. It's been a way to like unwind, especially when there was a whole lot of political turmoil and everything.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok was a great way. I mean, I've loved seeing and of course you get what you follow, right? And so I love seeing these cosplayers that do the things, where they do the mirror wipe and it's like wipe it down, and then they come down and they're in their cosplay and they wipe it down and they're in another cosplay and stuff. It's really cool. I like it.
It's really cool once or twice, but then everybody has to, because TikTok is very much a following thing.
Right,
somebody does something
else.
And then everybody copies it because we're all got no brain.
Yeah. Yeah, like I can't watch like an hour of that same video over and over and over again, but to see a couple of them, I'm like, those are cool. And some people have done some really good, like Mandalorian armor and stuff like that. And there's one TikToker that I watch that he really does a good Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And so, just some,
very cool.
There's some cool stuff.
So yeah, there was a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and
a lot of meh.
And a lot of meh in there. So we had the gambit. So thanks. I really appreciate you checking out our show here.
Yep.
If you haven't clicked on that subscribe button, click on that subscribe button, hit the notification icon, so next time we go live, you'll hear about us. But I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, and that's Stuart.
Geek at us, eh?
What?
The face was awesome.
Come here! Come to daddy! Come to daddy!
He's wagging his whole body.